love the countdown.
So good.
Dave.
Nick.
Talking about fraudulent practices.
That's what I hear. I hear we got a letter.
Yes, we get a letter, and I'm not talking about the fraud like it takes Amazon 3 months to send a refund these days because they're so busy. So let me read this to you first. Once in a while we get these. It's not abnormal. We teach about 1 million golf lessons a year and do hundreds of thousands of sales and club fitting too. So we got a lot to talk about here. First, this comes to us from June 1st, 2019. I wanted to do this for a long time. It's been on our list. We just never really took the opportunity to do it. So let me read a little bit of this to you, and then we'll enclose the whole letter in the description below. So first, the first paragraph, we're writing you this letter to share our experiences with what we believe to be fraudulent practices on the part of GOLFTEC. Rather than going public with this complaint through social media and other outlets, don't worry, I'll do that for you. We are giving you the opportunity to remedy the situation, as it may not be a corporate-driven practice. Now let's get down to the brass tacks here of what the complaint is. The fraud occurred during club fitting sessions at local GOLFTECs in 2 different states. While on a golf trip and discussing GOLFTEC, we discussed that 2 of us had the same experiences. So first, I think that's pretty cool that friends are in other states. They enjoy their GOLFTEC experience enough to come together and still play some golf, talk about it. Specifically, during club fitting at GOLFTEC, we both believed that the process was being manipulated to ensure that the new clubs being presented were outperforming our old clubs. This was accomplished through modifications to the settings in the testing equipment, which is great. So to start with, I designed the modifications that can be done in here. So I'll show you exactly the ins and outs about how we could do something like this. Why do we believe that this was occurring? Because we are both accomplished golfers and have been having ourselves tested with new equipment for years. The improvements, underlined, in spin rates, launch angles, carry, and total distances for the new clubs were simply not obtainable. To add to this, every new brand model of the clubs presented to us was outperforming our current clubs. That's good. That's a nice, not surprising result. The lessons we received at GOLFTEC have been excellent, and we are both continuing with these next year as these lesson packages, including a club fitting. We will both have the opportunity to see if there has been change in the club fitting practices at our locations. If we experience the same issue with the club fitting process again, our next communication will be to the general public on this subject. Signed, sincerely, Anonymous.
Anonymous. Perfect. So it sounds like they're basing everything on a whole bunch of research.
Maybe. Yeah. Know that I take this. I don't take these lightly either.
Right.
It's important to address these, and if someone has a concern about how to manipulate a club fitting, I'll show you how you could manipulate a club fitting. I don't think it'll be too telling on whether or not that happened to you or not. But know that it can be done if you were at a place and somebody wanted to deceive you, it could happen. So first I'll start with just like nothing. This is how you would log in to our system to actually conduct a fitting. So first I'll start when you're the coach. Congratulations, I know you haven't done this in a long time. But it starts with our TechFit software, which is the heart of our club fitting process. And this is all done internally in-house. So the first thing that I would do in a club fitting is really just try to catalog your golf bag. We track all of what you have, and then it's time to hit. So we'll get right into just hitting some 7-irons, because that's convenient, and here they are. So I have my 7-iron in here, and you can see I've got the brand, model, shaft, and then 5-6 open boxes in here that are highlighted in orange. And then 3 gauges that are below those, including backspin, launch angle, and then your angle of descent. The angle the ball lands on the ground. All of those are important for iron fittings. So while we use that, I'll launch Foresight on the driving range, and then the piece that I'm going to adjust now that we'll highlight later is that we're in Denver, Colorado-ish. We're actually a little higher than a mile into the air, so I will manually adjust this. You can just select real-time weather in this version of FSX, which puts the weather exactly what it is outside right now based on your location. So there's our start. Now you're on the driving range.
Beautiful.
As you can see, we've got our TechFit software running. So let's hit a shot.
Hit a shot.
Then let me show you what happens from there. Very nice. A little push, a little draw, no surprise. Over curve the target. Maybe you need those big berth irons a little bit.
Maybe. The viewers at home have seen that so many times from me, though. I mean,
they've seen it so many times.
They're used to it.
I don't know if they've seen it from you. Usually yours push and don't curve enough, so that one was interesting for sure. All right, let's take a look at some of this data so that
So
you can see
manipulate
how it
my
works.
data.
Well, I'm not going to start there. Let me
Oh,
just show
okay.
you the methodology of
Got
what
it.
happens here. The Foresight data flows directly into our software.
Got it.
So there's no input whatsoever from a coach on what
you don't have to
actually
type
happened.
anything
You don't have
in.
to do anything.
Yeah.
Which is where I think sometimes this goes a little bit awry anyway. A lot of systems, the coaches or fitters will just use whatever software is attached to the device. So TrackMan has a really nice club fitting software that you can use. Using TrackMan indoors, though, is a farce in of itself right now, as the spin rates are not accurate when you get a ball speed that's
Right.
starts to climb. So I would not use TrackMan indoors currently for a driver fitting, for example. And
Sure.
if you're doing that, you're getting some guesses mainly on the spin rate. That's why I really enjoy this GC2 indoors, because it's taking pictures of the ball and it has a better chance of doing the math to get your spin rate right. So let's start with some of the data that's presented here. Ball speed, launch angle, the push and pull. We're not going to worry about that for now, but you can see that was a 3-degree push, just barely over curved. We'll look at the backspin rate and the carry distance as well. So that's coming straight from Foresight right into our system. So first, let's start with backspin, 7370, 7370. Think those are pretty close?
Those are close.
Okay.
Those are very, very close.
Launch angle, 18. I always round that one. Here's 18.4.
Yep.
Close? Just
Yep.
go to round numbers on that. And then the angle of descent, 44, and I don't have that on here, but we can pull that up in just a second. And then the carry distance is what we use for irons, 182, and you've got a carry of 182 here.
It's all matching.
Coach can't really do anything about this because it's so locked down up there that you
Yeah.
can't manually enter anything.
Yeah, so you can't really sneak a number in
We don't
there.
let anyone do that.
Yeah.
It's part of the design that way. That way you get an honest club fitting that way.
Right.
So we can hit a few more shots, but the same thing is going to keep occurring.
Right.
You're going to hit a shot, that's what's going to appear. And it's all driven by Foresight. So let me go ahead and put in your next club, but I'll show you what it would take for a coach to actually do the dishonest practice to make the ball go farther.
Okay.
And you tell me if you think this is something that could actually happen in a golf lesson. So to start, I would have to actually close and exit out of Foresight.
So you can't just change anything
I can't do anything
while you're
from
in there.
Nope.
So
So next up, I would have to get back into this, click on Foresight range, and then with my altitude adjustment, that's how I would choose to do this. I could put this at, say,
yeah,
10,000 feet.
yeah, like we're playing in Vail,
Yeah.
Vail or Aspen.
Yeah, we go even a little bit past that. Now I hit start. All the shots that you'd hit before are totally gone.
Right.
So I have no way to go back and see that.
Yeah.
And I would have to do all of this with 2 accomplished players, according to the letter, that didn't notice that I even did it.
Right. So you went back to the computer, completely shut a program down, opened up a new one. All my shots are gone. It's fairly
Yep.
noticeable.
Yeah, I think that's pretty tough to know. I'd love to tell you there's another way, but you can't enter any data up into that.
Right.
That will be saved.
Yeah.
So at the end of this, you'll get a PDF report about what had happened in your club fitting too. Maybe we'll show one of those in the description here below too. You won't get any data on there if your coach is dishonest. It's designed that way intentionally to avoid this problem. And then all of our coaches, one of the I think proudest things that you and I should at least think of that we don't probably on a regular basis is that our company values, one of those is integrity.
Right.
And we take that pretty serious. It's the first thing you learn when you come to GTU University with us is that you're not here to be a used car salesman, pull shady stuff like this. That's not what this is ever about.
Right.
So our education, our training is really focused on never deceiving anyone, because that's not the point. Quite honestly, in most club fittings, what I would look for if I were a good player, what I would look forward to is seeing that my gear that I've got right now is actually good for me. And we encourage all of our coaches to actually do that as well.
Yeah.
It shouldn't happen all that much, quite honestly, because the equipment is getting a little bit better every single year. So if your current stuff was fit to you within the last couple of years really well, and you're very good, there's a chance that nothing new on that wall up there will help you. But that isn't a very common scenario for
Right.
what we're doing.
Most people don't get fit still,
Exactly.
right? So even if they think they know what
And
they
get
need,
fit
they're
well.
they're
Yeah.
yanking it off the rack, and
Yeah.
even if they know they need a stiff flex shaft, they're pulling it off the rack, not getting the right shaft, the right kick points and everything, and the weights, and they're just not getting that dialed in if they're not getting fit.
Exactly. So there's a whole lot that goes into a good fit. It's very hard to do that. Getting fit for golf clubs and understanding how to fit someone is really hard to do.
Yeah.
It's hard to learn where to do that. I'd like to think that all of our GOLFTEC coaches are really skilled at that, mainly because we test so frequently on comprehension of what the fitting process is and how that should work.
Right.
Hit one shot.
Yeah,
so
I want
you
to
can
see how
the
much you gained
difference
me.
here. You just gained 5,000. So now, in effect, what I've really done is took you from a mile high, which is a great spot to be to hit a golf ball, and we moved you 2 miles into the air. That 7-iron is going to go a whole lot farther. Nice job. You gained a little bit of distance there.
40 yards.
Average all those out. Average all those out, and there you go.
Yeah, I'll take this club.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I would do too. So that would be the only way you're going to do it. The way we do fittings is that you hit 3 or 4 shots. We're just looking for a shot that's within a half of an inch of the center of the face or where you would normally hit it.
Right.
So there might be another way that you could only take the worst shots of the control club. But again, the complaint letter is really based upon we're skilled players. We've done this a lot. Those are noticeable things that you would have to do as a in our system.
They would see that.
Yeah.
A skilled player would know like their 7-iron, they hit it 180 or whatever it is, and
magically you'd see it up here at 150.
Yeah.
Then I could maybe see all that.
Well, all that makes sense. I did notice something I want to ask you though. On this shot, I noticed that my ball speed from the bottom screen to the top screen is about 1 mile an hour different, and on my previous shot, it was actually 2 miles an hour different. So everything else is matching up, but what's going on there?
Yeah, astute observation, Dave.
Thank you.
That's very good. So what we're doing here is inside of Foresight, we're using, I haven't changed the club type. You can change this to whatever you want. In previous versions of Foresight, when you selected an iron, it gives you a smash factor. So multiplying your club head speed by your smash factor is your ball speed.
Right.
So to help us make a recommendation of a shaft, we use your club head speed as a part of that equation. To give you the most accurate club head speed, you'd have to be using an iron from 10, 15 years ago to probably have the smash factor as low as Foresight once used to have it. So it was a really low number. Using that and the technology that's built in irons now where they're almost built like drivers with really thin faces, I didn't really think that was the best number to use to help you do the math problem to get back to club head speed.
Gotcha.
So I just use a larger number than what Foresight uses, but it is not the 1.45 that a driver would be.
Got it.
So that's where, depending on wherever you are inside of Foresight, if I'm doing a fitting with an iron, you'll see a different ball speed, mainly because this is not the same smash factor that we're using. We're using a 1.4 as a smash factor for a 6 or
So
7.
what I think I'm hearing you say is in our TechFit system, we've kind of determined what the smash factor is going to be to help calculate ball speed. But we're selecting the club within our system. It's still not manipulatable by the coach.
No, coach couldn't do that.
Right.
It's hard coded in there for sure.
It's just if I'm hitting a 7-iron, I'm picking 7-iron on the screen.
And if you're using anything within the last 10 years and you hit a pretty reasonable shot, 1.4 is more reflective of the smash factor. So you'll see the ball speed being slightly slower on our system than on Foresight. Still doesn't really get into any of the problems that were listed in that letter, but it is worth knowing that we do some math on the back end to probably try to make things even more realistic, and to take things out of the coach's hands. Really, what I would like every coach to do, and this is how your fitting should go anyway. You hit a shot, and you don't even need Foresight on. All that's really doing is just a glorified driving range. All of the math and all of the data and what you need to consume is done inside of here. So your angle of descent on that shot is too low, and you can see how in that chart it's in our red bar chart. It's not, it needs to come down at a more obtuse angle. This is landing at too acute of an angle, it's hard to hold a green. That launch angle relative to your ball speed looks pretty good, and then the amount of backspin that you have is on the cusp of where I think you should have it too. So that's what you would talk about during a fitting, not necessarily exactly what a number is. And the coach, honestly, when I do fittings most of the time for myself, to train the other coaches, the way we would do this is just turn the screen off most of the time and just teach off of how that works. Because everything's there. Even the little archaic model we use just isn't real super fancy for where the ball went, is doing the same thing that Foresight's doing.
Makes sense.
So we're not doing this to get some anger sharks going online and revisit this nasty feeling that these customers had and these students had. It's more meant to say that this probably didn't happen. I can't really think of a way that you could be bamboozled in our system to make this work.
Yeah.
Our coaches aren't taught to do that either.
And we don't know how old the clubs are of these accomplished players, right? Clubs could be 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, which you're going to see some pretty impressive gains and change in the numbers from something that's old to something that's current, even if those old ones were fit to you and were great.
And then couple that with, to see improvement on all of those clubs is not abnormal. If one is better for you and you have a very good fitter, a good coach fitter who can do this with you, that helps people play better, but also knows what kind of equipment to give you,
Right.
you'll have, very likely, you'll get 3 or 4 different components put together that can help you.
Yeah.
So this is normal.
As far as we know, Mr. Anonymous hasn't brought this to the public yet, so he either forgot about it or didn't run into it again or realized how crazy it was. But if Mr. Anonymous is watching, I hope this gets him into a good spot.
And if not, ask any question you want in the comment section below. I will, if I see them, answer those as honestly as we can. We're not doing anything that's deceiving a customer.
We're here to help people play better golf. Yes. That's what it's all about.
That's it. Anything else to add? I think that just about covers it.
I think that's about it.
Other than you need to play up in the mountains and then on top of the mountain, on top of the mountain.
I do need to go play in the mountains. That was a phenomenal 7-iron.
Well, when you get up in like Vail and you hit a 3-wood, that's where I always find it the most. Or sand wedges, just shots that hang in the air.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that can travel the farthest and go the furthest over the green. So write that down. You got that? You need a pen?
That's right. I think we're good. I think we handled it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Nick.